Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you. Pleased to be joined by a good friend of the show. You've seen him before, and you'll now see him again from NFL on CBS and also NFL Network draft analyst. It is one and only Charles Davis joining us here, center stage. Good to have you, Charles.
Hey,
how you been? You doing all right?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. I apologize to everyone you're stuck with me one more time, but it's great to hang with my guys one more time. This is pretty cool.
All right, we'll give you a couple minutes.
and then you got to go.
We got things we got to
do. We were knocking around just before you came on the big question around Bryce Young, which is the durability concerns. There's talk that he's going to come in here and try to weigh in at 200 pounds.
That's the goal.
A birdie told us there were times last season that he came into games at 169.
Wow.
I mean,
that's tiny.
We've seen guys make the weight jump, Charles, all the time. Come in here at an inflated weight, what have you.
30, chugging all the water.
30 pounds, though, Charles. That's not even natural.
I'll go out on a limb and say he did play maybe a game at 169. He probably won it.
No question about that.
But
that part's easy.
So here's the question, okay? So the durability question is out there on him. We've talked about how the kid is so razor sharp. He can probably be a quarterback in this league that can get it out on average in 2.5 seconds to maybe reduce the number of hits he will take. But then Steve brought up what happens on 3rd and 22.
Yeah.
Like, he's not getting out in 2.5 seconds on 3rd and 22.
No.
So the durability concern is there. And his fellow alum, Tua, is only 200 pounds and has durability issues, as we saw last season. That can't be helping a case like Brian, like Young. So what do you do there if you're one of those teams at the top of the draft?
I think he's the best playmaker by far. I think he's a playmaker extraordinaire. I struggle with the idea that he even weighed 169 playing a game. That seems like an awfully precise number for someone to ding a guy with.
Yeah.
But the idea that he was around 180 and less, I could see that. Like, I can buy that a little bit more. You're going to have to check him and make sure he doesn't have a brick in each hand, right? and a little extra in his socks and the whole deal to do what he's got to do.
He'd probably drink a gallon of water before he can step
at
up
least,
too.
right? So. They better get the weigh in quick so he can make a run, right, after he does it. Bottom line is, remember a few years ago we were waiting to see if Kyler Murray measured over 5'10"? Remember that one?
Yeah.
And we got the measurement, and everybody went, whoa, okay. Then we had Joe Burrow. Is his hand 9 inches? And he hit 9. We always have that where these special weigh-ins. This kid is the most mature quarterback in the group for me. He makes the most plays. He plays from the pocket better than he gets credit for. He is not a runner. He is a play extender, and then the ball goes.
He's a passer.
He's a passer. He anticipates. He sees. There's things that I've seen him do that I go, well, hold on a second. How did he see that play developing that way where the ball goes there and all of a sudden the guy is there to meet it? I like him. Plus, I think he's a lot tougher than maybe what people know. My spies have told me that, you remember when he hurt his shoulder last year and he missed a game?
Yeah, he got tripped up on a play at the sideline.
Right. If that game had been a different game, he probably would have played in that game. Okay, so they were able to rest him that week. But my spies tell me there wasn't a heck of a lot of practice down the stretch, and somehow he was able to play on Saturdays and play really, really well. Oh, yeah, by the way, he and Will Anderson and the rest of his mates, they played in the bowl game, which was stunning in this day and age because it wasn't the national championship
instead of opting
game.
Out,
instead of opting out, they go when they play. He goes, 21 for 25, 5 touchdowns. Okay, see you guys later. I like him. I know the durability concerns are big. And Steve knows better than me because he played in that era when quarterbacks looked like Jim Kelly because they were taking the most ungodly shots back there that weren't being penalized or called. And Jim Kelly was a big man. Dan Marino was a big man. Boomer Esiason was a big man. John Elway was a big man.
They were heavy.
Big, thick people because
they were heavy dudes.
The hits then, Steve,
that
would all draw flags now.
Yeah.
They had to take those and endure those. Yeah. It's a little bit different than where we are now.
And a guy like Bryce Young, and here's the thing, too, and why he's so intriguing, why this is, because we always talk about the wars. That's what this is about. You come in here and it's almost like, okay, you kind of, what's going to disqualify a guy? That's the only thing.
This is it.
Because from the neck up, from the heart out, this guy is presidential. He is off the charts, leadership, intelligence, innate instincts, everything you can put intangibly on a quarterback, plus the X's and O's, he's got it.
I got to tell you
He's
something.
got bags of it.
He does, and think of it this way. sometimes people do things to make sure you know they did them, even though they're acting like they didn't, right? We all, oh, no. Like, what do we call our humble brag? You know?
Right.
You know, the humble, and I was hanging out with Cruz. But it wasn't a big deal, right? I saw this kid in a situation last summer where there's a chance to go to an establishment that you need to be 21 or older. He wasn't 21. He opted out of going. But the only reason I knew was I was near the conversation. Was like, and he was much more, I don't think it's a good idea because if something goes wrong, and that's it. And that was it. He didn't jump up and go, I can't go, guys. I'm not 21 or whatever.
Yeah.
Just recognizing I don't need to put myself in bad situations just in case. The chances of something happening were pretty small.
Yeah.
But I think he had the innate understanding that if it does, I got to deal with it.
Risk
and why
reward,
bother with it?
And
He's
plus,
seeing big picture.
Well,
he's understanding the world better than I was sitting there going, man, when I was that age, what are you talking about? I would have been the first guy in there.
Self-awareness is not
a problem for him.
It's not a commodity that everybody has.
All right, so let's take a closer look in terms of the Bills. Obviously, we've got free agency even before we get to the draft, and the kids that are here this week. And they have a giant positional hole at safety just because of expiring contracts. It's not just Jordan Poyer.
Yeah.
Jaquan Johnson, his backup, is up. Dean Marlowe, the vet they brought in via trade, is up. So they have, just from a sheer numbers standpoint, safety to fill. Linebacker could be a hole if Edmonds doesn't come back, and it looks like he's going to command a pretty very big price tag. Jordan Phillips is a free agent. I know he was hurt, but there's a hole there to be addressed, and that's just on defense. When people are saying receiver, interior, O-line, what do you see as priorities for Buffalo in free agency?
Well, I think that you've nailed some pretty good ones, and this is where the tragedy of Damar Hamlin also comes into play.
He's an unknown,
because he would have been obviously one of those people right there and had played himself into that position that we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? So that's one thing that kicks in. You definitely want to shore up because now your division has gotten better. And by the way, that team in green, until they get settled at quarterback, they're going to get Breece Hall back. They've got Michael Carter. They're going to want to run the heck out of the football. So that's where the Jordan Phillips thing comes into play, right? So this is not a division because when you took over the division and became that team, it was New England. Everybody's going, okay, can New England get back in it? And no one else was in the fight. They weren't there. Guess what? Everybody's in the fight now. It's a whole different ball game. So that's what I would say. And I will tell you this. Get off of free agency. What is the name of that young man at Illinois? He's a safety, and I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and it's driving me. Not Witherspoon. He's the corner. Yeah. Brown is his last name.
Yeah, he's
Illinois.
He's a twin.
And he's a twin, and his twin plays running back for them. Yes, Sidney Brown. He had a week at the Senior Bowl that got my attention. He's a leader. He's a ball hawk. He's a tackler. He plays like a Buffalo Bills safety.
Bills DNA, as Brandon Beane says.
He really plays like a Buffalo Bills safety.
All right, so if we want to flip, what would you say? You said the rest of the division is getting better. I tend to agree with you on that. What do you think is the general overview league-wide of the Bills? Because Steve and I deal with Bills myopia every day. What is the outside observance of the Bills right now going into 2023?
Still the team setting the pace. Still the team that you have to chase down in the East. Still a team that is a Super Bowl contender. Yeah, everyone's got to plug some holes, but everybody goes through it every year. But you mentioned Bills' DNA. Oh, it's steeped now where they believe they're winning. I'm going to say as an outsider, watching what you had to go through last year, from the moment DeMar went down through the rest of your season, the organization handled it, the players handled it, the fans handled it, dignity, class, empathy, caring, all the things that are associated with Buffalo. But you can't tell me, and this is one person now, this is me, that the toll on the team that they can never talk about wasn't big. Because I watched a team against Miami in the playoffs that was already operating off of an emotional deficit. They found a way to win. The Cincinnati game, I take nothing away from the Bengals. Congratulations, they won the ball game. I said in the first quarter, this team is emotionally spent because there's no way you can get away from it. There's no way you can blow up and say, guys, we got to move on and play a game this week. Now you're insensitive. No one's going to do that. You're going to take care of DeMar. You're going to take care of the situation. You're going to take care of your people. It had its toll on them. Now they can move forward. Now they can go back and play football again. DeMar is okay. Whether he plays football or not is almost irrelevant. The man's alive, and we're all happy. That's wonderful, and everyone does the right things. That's the thing that I saw at the end of last year for them, and you will never hear a word come out of one Bills place. It would never happen. I'm saying it as an outside observer. You can see it because I've been through it before with other teams. When you've had these kind of things that have happened, eventually it wears you down, and that's just how it goes. No getting around because all of us are coming in going, so how was practice today? Was DeMar at practice today? So how was this? Did you talk to DeMar today?
Right.
And Steve, you're a player. You know how it goes.
I think you nailed it. If you saw Tre'Davious White's press conference after the New England game, which was the last regular season game, they asked him to describe the week, and he called it an expletive show. And he said, I try to turn on the TV to forget about it. And what I saw, he said, every time the TV goes to commercial, I can't unsee it. It's the first thing that pops in my head.
And it's unfortunate.
I walked out of that press
right
conference and I said, oh, boy. This team might be in trouble from an emotional content standpoint, which Steve talks about all the time and kind of educates our listening audience about, because if you've never played at that level, you just don't know the emotional investment you have to make every week to get yourself ready to physically pay the price. And I still don't think a lot of NFL fans understand it.
And to pay homage to your teammate. You want to make sure that that teammate gets his due. Steve, you were in the league when Jerome Brown died in Philadelphia, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so it was
an off-season.
It was an off-season thing. But you remember what the Eagles did that year? They kept the seat open on every charter. They kept his locker, and they did his locker on the road. Emotional debt. It just kept creeping in on them. I was former PGA Tour tournament director. Payne Stewart died.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Right.
We tournament directors were trying to out-honor Payne, out-honor each other for Payne every week. By the end of the year, I called the PGA Tour because my term was the last term. I said, what should we do for Payne? And they're like, Charles, there's nothing left to do.
Right.
Not that anyone doesn't love him, not anyone care. Eventually, you run your course on that. Again, I hope I'm not coming off the wrong way. It was tough for these Buffalo players to do everything they had to do. And by the way, they wouldn't change a thing because they love their teammate. That's the key. You wouldn't change a thing. They just ran to an unfortunate part.
We got a little bit more time.
Okay.
Why don't we
bounce? No, she's going to bounce.
Are we good?
Yeah, he's got to bounce because he's got.
I ate it all up. I apologize.
Somebody else wants to talk to him.
DeMar Hamlin, thank God you're okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
Charles, thanks. We appreciate it. We're going to stick and stay, but we're going to have you exit stage
you
left.
Of course you are.
So
you guys
always good to see you, especially in person.
Great
We're usually doing the Zoom thing with you. Good to see you.
And we'll talk some more draft stuff down the road.
Absolutely.
Right?